Thank you so much for the opportunity to present to this very interesting and esteemed forum. I'm going to talk a little bit about the work we do in the Information Management Unit of the Department of Peace Operations and Peacebuilding and Political Affairs. And to preface that, I want to just remind our colleagues and everyone that we work with that information and data has been and is part and parcel of the UN's work since its inception. So if you think about the work that the UN does, reporting on conflict issues, drawing up maps and ceasefire boundaries, managing DDR processes, even roading records in the Security Council are all part of information and data, all generate data actually, and it's something that the United Nations has been doing for a long time. What has changed, or what we're trying to change with the establishment of the Peace and Security Data Hub, is to drive the publication of data and information, not just through obscure Secretary General's reports on the on a subsite of a subsite of a subsite, but also to publish data and visuals that tell a compelling narrative about what is happening in a context in which the UN is asked to play a part. So just a quick brief on who we are and what our role is. It provides you with a bit of context. With the Information Management Unit of the two departments in the UN who are supporting international peace and security, the Department of Peace Operations and the Department of Peacebuilding and Political Affairs. We manage the official records and we provide central information management services for those two departments, but also data analytics support and the advice internally on how to create visuals that tell a compelling narratives as part of the Secretary General's report, and of course we manage the Peace and Security Data Hub, which we'll be talking about now. So what is the Peace and Security Data Hub? Real quick, it is for the UN, it is a place where we put and publish the data, authoritative canonized data, that we can put out into the public so that we can help coordinate or provide information to the wide range of stakeholders that are involved in supporting the UN's efforts. For UN staff, it's a place to reliably share their information in a governed environment, and we'll talk a little bit about what that means. And then for the public, it's a free public library of open data on the UN's peace and security efforts. We have all kinds of data. It's an open data portal, and I believe maybe one of the organizers might be able to share a link in the chat to the portal so people can have a look for themselves. So the Peace and Security Data Hub was established in 2021 by the DPPA Innovation Cell, and then since taken over by our unit, no longer a project, but actually a part and parcel delivery of our organization. And it comes from the realization that in a large enterprise like the United Nations, and this is the same case in any large enterprise, whether you're a foreign ministry or if you are an organization, a large tech provider or tech company, a large enterprise will have these problems of the way in which data is being shared throughout the organization. It might be the sharing of data is built on interpersonal relationship. Data might be shared in unsustainable or ungoverned ways, meaning we don't know who produced these numbers last year. We might not know what the methodology was in producing these numbers this year. And of course, when data is shared in this way in a large enterprise, you have to maintain a lot of relationships in order to get access to the data you need to drive the evidence-based processes that you are part of. And that can be challenging. It increases the time and cost for any data analysis because you have to maintain all these relationships across the organization to just get your hands on the right data or the most up-to-date data, et cetera. And it also creates risks for the organization. Something that's being published in one place might not be exactly in sync with what is going into a talking point in another part of the organization. And that's what we want to prevent. But just to say this is not a problem that is unique to the UN, it's just a problem that we also have at the UN. And our solution to that is, of course, establishment of the Peace and Security Data Hub. It is our single source of truth for data on the UN peace and security efforts. We leverage existing clearance and declassification procedures for anything that is being published. We try and endeavor to make that available also on the Peace and Security Data Hub. And when we do so, we maintain it in a governed environment, meaning we know exactly which office that is responsible for compiling this information, how often we're expected to see updates, et cetera, et cetera. And then we make that available by compelling visuals through an API as well, application programming interfaces, so that you, the member states, or anyone else who is interested in the data can work to can connect it to their own internal business intelligence application, or conduct their own live research or action research on the basis of the data. So there's a couple of benefits for us to work in that way. One is we're leveraging existing clearance procedures. We know exactly what needs to happen in a large organization like this for something to be released to the public. Now, if it's being released to the public, we know it's being scrutinized to a certain degree and certain level. So we're not establishing a new procedure for the release of information. The procedures are already in place. We're just piggybacking off of them and then making those data that is already being published in one of the other formats available on the Peace and Security Data Hub. We also are kind of leveraging the data stewards, the offices that are interested in publishing their data. We're not forcing anyone to do anything they don't already want or not already comfortable with. We're helping people tell their data narrative within the organization and broadcast that out to the public. And then finally, I think, and this is where the data science aspect comes into play, by working with only open data, we are able to leverage the academic community's analytical capacity and data science expertise to evaluate the work of the organization. So as many of you know, the UN has generally a bit of an older workforce. The data science expertise is not something we necessarily have a whole ton of posts that can do that. So the demand for analysis of our data far outstrips the supply that we actually have internally. And working with the academic community allows us, through open data, allows us to leverage that analytical community for the publication of research papers, analysis, or even applications. So, of course, the open data is only the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more data out there, but working with open data actually have a certain level of benefits. So how have we done since 2022 when our team took over the responsibilities for the Peace and Security Data Hub? We have established data and research partnership with a couple of universities who are using our data. We have a very diverse global user base. We've tripled the number of downloads from our website and more than doubled the number of data sets. We have established an automatic synchronization with the Humanitarian Data Exchange, so we're contributing to the global crisis data ecosystem. And of course, all this is only possible through the variety of projects and programs that support the digital transformation of either peace operations or the work of the United Nations. And finally, the website is available in all 6 official UN languages, which actually helps us contribute to the diverse user base that we now have. Here's a quick view of the page views, number of datasets downloads, and of course the user base largely in the US. The UN headquarters is here. That's where I'm speaking from. But we're also seeing a lot of true contributing countries, countries all over the world who are using the data, which we're quite happy with. Our operating model, of course, just to be super quick, this is how we incentivize offices to publish their data. Is we help put together a visual dashboard for the specific data set that they want to publish, and by doing so, they get a visual. In return, we get their data, and we help grow the pool of available data for analysis. And as that pool grows, we'll be able to combine data in interesting ways and look at correlations and causations down the line. So that's the Peace and Security Data Hub. Oh, and finally, the most important aspect of this is why is this even relevant in the time of AI? So and why do we call it AI-ready data? The reason we are doing that is, as I noticed, the demand for analysis of data far outstrips the supply of data analysts within the organization. And we actually see artificial intelligence and generative AI as a great means to kind of leapfrog for the organization the lacking capabilities within the organization. So if our data is of high quality, and all of the data that is on the Peace and Security Data Hub is of high enough quality, it actually enables generative AI to just be able to quickly query the data and offer very advanced data analytics skills straight to a person who's never even done an Excel pivot table or might not even know how to open up and create a visual for themselves. So that's why we call it AI-ready data, but we're incentivizing offices to get their data into a good enough shape so that they can start extracting value from it when generative AI becomes more widely available within our enterprises. I think that was it on the Peace and Security Data Hub. I don't know how I'm doing for time, but just let me know if there's any questions or comments. Otherwise, I will go ahead and just showcase the website.
You are doing fantastic on time. So we have a little bit, a few minutes, and there are not so many questions in the chat yet. Feel free to put your questions in the chat, but if you want to display it, please go ahead and display, and I'll let you know if questions come in.
All right. So I will just show my screen real quick so that we can look at the Peace and Security Data Hub together. All right. So if the organizers can share the link to the website, that would be awesome. I'll also share a link to training we conduct with the Dag Hammarskjöld Library for anyone in the diplomatic corps who's interested in the Peace and Security Data Hub and how to use it for their own analysis. We do conduct a twice a year training for the diplomatic corps, as well as the peacekeeping training institutes on how to extract value from the data. So this is the website available in all 6 official languages. You can browse the data by the different themes that we have. You can also there's a how-to guide if you want to connect to APIs. We have a list of data stories just to get people inspired on how to use the data. There's also a bit more guidance on certain types of policy research that has been conducted on the back of the data. And of course, we maintain a bit of a list of additional resources that not necessarily mean endorsement from the UN, but just to get people familiar with the data ecosystem that the Peace and Security Data Hub is a part of. And our about section, we have a contact page. Please do reach out to us if there are issues with the data, if you need advice or guidance. Our team is very responsive. So let's say if I'm looking into data on peacekeeping, so I browse, we have 71 data sets that are tagged with the peacekeeping, that are tagged with peacekeeping related. So let's say we can look at monthly mission air assets. So this is a data set that showcases where we have Department of Operational Support managed aircrafts in what peacekeeping are. We get that data, I think, on a monthly basis. On the page, you will see general background about the data, its limitations, as well as which missions are covered. And then you will also see which department or originating office this data actually comes from. There's a bit of an overview of the data. In there, you'll also find the various descriptions of the columns. So anyone who, a layperson or a data engineer, would be able to actually make sense of this quite easily. But of course, most people don't really interact with the data itself in this way. They interact with the visual that comes with the data. And here we, for each data set, there is a compelling visual that helps that office tell the story of their contributions to whatever it might be. So in this case, we get a sense of which types of airplanes are available in which missions. That is something that has been in demand by the humanitarian community. So to know exactly what kind of capabilities are available from different peacekeeping operations. And of course, you can then download the data and connect to our APIs. This was just how one data set works. You can download it in CSV, JSON, and XML formats, and that's about it. And finally, we also make all of this data is automatically synced up with the Peace and Security page on the Humanitarian Data Exchange, contributing to the data ecosystem. Let me see if there's anything else I need to share. Some colleagues in the diplomatic community in particular might be interested in specific policy agendas, for instance, climate, peace, and security. This is a policy agenda that the Security Council Affairs Division, working with the other parts of the House, have put together. Again, column definitions, on this data, and in this particular case, they've put together a visual that shows the evolution of the policy agenda in a kind of a numerical way. Now, how does that impact how this might be used in the future? We actually don't know. That's where the innovation horizon is kind of exciting. We have a bunch of research that are now being published on the basis of data that we make available on the Peace and Security Data Hub, and we don't know yet sort of the extent. There's an innovation to extent to which how people choose to use it. But in my view, getting the data ready and available for analysis is kind of the first step of the journey. We'll see how different state departments or foreign ministries choose to use this data to inform their work in the council or inform their work on national level peace building initiatives, whatever it might be. The first step is making the data available. So I think that's all I can kind of do in one breath of 10 minutes.